Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I only want to speak briefly on this bill, and I also just want to acknowledge the contribution that Senator Patrick has just made, which is a constructive contribution to what is a very important piece of legislation. And it's pleasing to hear members of the crossbench who are willing to work with the government on things that are important to our nation and getting the balance right on many things. And that's what this chamber is very good at doing. The same can't be said, though, for the speaker that preceded him. Senator Steele-John made a reference to people in this place, members of this place, senators and political parties shafting farmers. And the allegation or the illusion was that it was the Liberal National Party, the coalition, that was shafting farmers. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. It's not this lot who are shafting farmers. We stand up for farmers. That's why we brought this bill in, and I commend the Minister for Agriculture for being so responsive to industry concerns and dealing with the things that she has in this bill. It's not that lot, I hope, who shaft farmers. It's the Greens who do that. It's that party who are speaking out against this piece of legislation, claiming it doesn't need to be brought in, that we don't need these protections, that we don't need to clamp down on this terrible behaviour we've seen time and time and time again. That's the party that shafts farmers, that's the party that shafts foresters, and that's the party that shafts fishermen and women. It's the party that shafts regional Australia. It's the party that doesn't care about jobs in our regional communities, Mr Acting Deputy President. And it's time they were called out for that sort of thing. They're not standing up for balance. They're not standing up to protect people. They are doing what they normally do, creating emotive arguments and costing people jobs on the way through. And I believe, as all of the members on this side of the chamber, and I gather many others in this place do, that protecting jobs in our primary industries is essential. Regional communities are built off the back of strong primary industries in forestry, in fisheries and in farming. And I think that the inclusion of wood processing and wood fibre processing facilities within the definition of primary production businesses is a very good addition. And in my home state of Tasmania, we only have to have a little bit of a look at recent history and the impact that protesters have had on the forest industry there, to the point where they were able to shut down a huge portion of our native forestry sector in our state, costing thousands of jobs, something that certain members of that political party wear as a badge of honour. They don't go out and speak to the people whose jobs they've cost. They don't go and talk to the wives, the husbands of those who've lost their jobs, the kids whose parents now no longer have employment. They don't drive through the streets of these towns that have been shut down as a result. They take no responsibility for it. But it's unsafe to go and shut down these serious operations, these serious primary industry operations, and as I said before, it costs jobs. And I want to focus on forestry. It is a proud industry. It's an industry that should be proud of the standard at which it operates. We are better than so many other places. Most other forestry nations around the world, we operate at a world standard, and those participants, those people who work in the industry, those who invest should be proud. And I think it's messages like this that we get from the Australian Greens trying to denigrate that industry that we should ignore. And that's why it's important in this bill to protect the right for those who want to work, those who want to invest in forestry as well as other primary industries, to get about what they do without fear of being persecuted and having protests take place in their places of work by people supported by the Australian Greens. I do acknowledge, though, that in the consultation process, particularly through the work of the committee that inquired into this piece of legislation, a number of concerns were raised, particularly from the forestry industry, and having spoken with the Minister for Agriculture, I look forward to working in particular with the forestry industry on the further concerns they raise and see what can be done into the future to make sure that industry continues to be strong and proud of what it does and continue to provide the jobs that are so badly needed in regional communities, jobs that lot over there the Australian Greens want to get rid of. But I do commend this bill to anyone listening.